Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. The Game Changer Radio Network.
Turning all of our antennas towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Yeah. Fade to Black. It's Fade to Black, the Tuesday edition. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 104 days into the new year. 261 days left. As always, we are live from the City of Angel Studios right here in downtown Burbank, California. COA Vapor, makers of Fade to Black e-juice, Fader Loops and Cream. Takes you right back to Saturday morning cartoons. That's right. Just go to the COA banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code Jimmy. Click for the Fade or Not special. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, The Planet, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. Welcome to everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, far and near. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, we have back with us Joshua P. Warren. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. That is the number 14. Tomorrow night, actor Dean Haglund of The X-Files will be with us. That's right. We'll be talking about his documentary, UFOs, The Truth Is Out There. Of course, the upcoming X-Files Redux. Yeah. All right. Big proud salute to the men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight for us. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and you couldn't hear me right now. Think about it. All right. Let's get this show cracking. I'm ready. Our Fader Gear store went down for the past 24 hours. Oh no, something catastrophic, but it's back. So go get your Fader gear, jimmychurchradio.com. You can click on the banner now. The last couple of days it was down, man. It was just down. All right. We have an announcement that we're not quite ready to break yet, but we got some cool things coming up here in the next 2 weeks. I'm excited about that. We'll get to that. I kind of leaked it last night, but there is a really cool thing that's going to be happening here very soon on Thursday evenings. Oh, that's Fader night. Oh, what could it be? Yeah, check it out. All right. Welcome. This is Fade to Black. Excited tonight. Joshua P. Warren is back with us. Got a lot of stuff to talk about with Joshua. I'm going to leave that for him when he comes on the show, but I'll give you a little hint. He how do I do this? I would rather have him break the news, but let's just say crash site. That's what I'm going to say, and then we'll leave the rest for later. Last month, KGRA and Fade to Black started our quest to take over the world, and this week it continues. And one day at a time, we did it yesterday with L.A. Marzulli. Great show. Was that a great show? Oh, man. Lots of email about that. I'm tempted. You know what? I'm going to read this email real quick. I wasn't going to do this, but here you go. Hello, JC. Nothing much to say here other than that was one kick-butt show last night with L.A. It has taken me practically the whole day today, Tuesday, and that's how we wrote it, Tuesday in parentheses, to get through it. And for the lack of a better term, digest it. So much deep stuff. That's the content that gets my motor, bud. Keep it up, my friend. I hope to finish out the week with you, but we have our NASCAR friends in town for some short track cracking this weekend. Keep it up. Rock on, brother. That's from Ben Trout, Vice President of Bristol Motor Speedway. Ben Trout. How cool is that? Bristol. He ain't lying when he says short track cracking. Thank you, Ben, for the email. That was an amazing show last night. No doubt about it. Okay. I've got a couple of things that I want to do really quick. So I'm going to make all of this really quick at the front of the show because I've got to get to Mark Wyatt's email that I didn't get a chance to read last night. All right. Congratulations to Stallone. He was the big winner last night with his question about picking up pennies. So he was our runner-up, but Keith donated his box set to Stallone. So thank you, Keith. And Keith, also, thank you for the email. Don't forget, let's get this show really cracking right now because don't miss Hangar One again this Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. PST on the History Channel. And I think this week is like underwater UFOs or underwater UFO bases. Also, this Saturday, if you live in Los Angeles, you're going to be in the area, I will be hosting the 2015 Conscious Life Unsolved Mysteries Seminar. That's this Saturday, April 18th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the LAX Hilton, right there on Century Boulevard with Mike Barra, Barbara Lamb, Douglas Taylor, and Dana Dunn. Yours truly. Come hang out, learn something. I would love to meet all of you Fadernauts, so come on out. That's this Saturday, April 18th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, let's get the show cracking. I got a lot to do, so I'm going to take a quick break after we do the birthdays, and then I've got to get to Mark Wyatt's letter. Today, Guitar God Richie Blackmore is 70 years old. And that's all I'm going to say. That's you just got to leave it right there. 70 years old. Actor Anthony Michael Hall is 47. I say it all the time. How do you make the list? Well, you're Anthony Michael Hall. That's how you make the list. Starred in some of my all-time all of our all-time favorite films. Also today, actor Adrian Brody is 42. You know what? Adrian Brody in the Grand Budapest Hotel, great, recent release, really did really good in that. But remember The Pianist? That's why he made it right there. Adrian Brody, only 42. Arcade Fire frontman Win Butler, 35 years old. And our dead guy's birthday today is actor Rod Steiger. Moment of silence. 1925 to 2002. Died at the age of 77. But check this out. He was in On the Waterfront. Oh, yeah. Marlon Brando. The Longest Day. Oh, Frank Serpico. Well played there, Sal Mineo. Well played. On the Waterfront. Longest Day. And Longest Day had, every big actor in the world in it. You know what's funny? I'm talking about it now. Anybody can tweet Wowo right now. She will tell you, I made her watch The Longest Day last week. We just watched it. So today, Rod Steiger. Anyway, The Longest Day, which had every actor in the history of cinema up to that point, was in that film. So everybody got to play these really small parts. And I think he's like a boat captain or something, a destroyer dude. But anyway, he was also in Dr. Zhivago, the original Amityville Horror, Mars Attacks. But my favorite film that he did, besides Mars Attacks, because he was really good, remember he shrunk down, was a little movie called Out There. Out There. And if you haven't seen it, great UFO flick. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Out There. Now, I think Out There should be the movie for Fader Cinema this week. He died of pneumonia and complications from surgery for gallbladder tumor, July 9th, 2002, right here in Los Angeles, California. Rod Steiger, happy birthday. All right, so for Twitter, real quick, let's light it up for Richie Blackmore's birthday. We got to do this, right? What's your favorite Deep Purple song? I've got 2. Well, I've got 100. But 2 always come to mind. Burn or Highway Star. Those are kind of like a tie for me. There's others, this is great stuff. But Burn or Highway Star. So there you go. There's that Twitter question. And then I had to go to Anthony Michael Hall because he's got a place in my heart and always will. You can just ask Rita. I've been a big Michael Anthony Hall fan forever. And so what was his best film? So I'm going to help you out. Allison Bell went with Smoke on the Water. Bob just tweeted Space Truck. And follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, by the way, hashtag F2B. And so anyway, Anthony Michael Hall. I'm going to help you out. Here's a little list. You ready? Vacation, which he ruled in. The Breakfast Club, which he really ruled in, but then there's Weird Science. What about 16 Candles? Huh? And then you got to throw in 6 Degrees of Separation. Ultra disturbing movie. Not the funny guy in that, was he? Anthony Michael Hall. It's his birthday. What was his best film? And I'm going Weird Science. That's it. I'm going Weird Science. That's it. Weird Science. Ziggy just came in with Weird Science at the same time, so there you go. Looks like everybody is Smoke on the Water. Really? Man, I don't know why. Burn. Oh, whoa. What's this Longest Day you talk about? All right, man, I got to get to Mark Wyatt's email, and it looks like I'll probably have to do it at the end of the show. I have a way of talking way too much. Tonight, we have Joshua P. Warren with us. Tomorrow night, actor Dean Haglund of The X-Files will be with us. It's going to be a great show tonight. It's shaping up to be a great week here on Fade to Black. We do it every week. Somehow we pull it off. We get to Thursday and we look back and we go, man, did that just happen? Well, it's going to happen again. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planets. When I come back, I've got all the news that you know nothing about. I got a lot of it tonight, too. Don't touch that mouse. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National tax experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Yeah. The Tuesday edition. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA The Planet. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren. Tomorrow night, actor Dean Haglund of The X-Files will be with us. Excited. I'm fired up. During the next break, as I bring on Joshua P. Warren, I'm going to go break out my wishing machine. I'm going to take some pictures. I have one. I have a wishing machine here. Yes, I do. Right here. I'm going to go break it out. It's right here in the studio. Use it as often as I can. All right, let's get to the news that you know nothing about. I promise I've got all this news to get in, but I'm going to get Mark Wyatt in and this email. You know, I promised you last night. I didn't get to it. And I yapped too much at the front of the show. I meant to get to it. It's long. That's why. It's not something short, but it is amazing. And the suspense. Mark Wyatt's email. But yeah, it's that good. All right, let's get to the news that you know nothing about. New measurements of Martian weather and soil conditions suggest, yes, that the soil is damp with liquid brine. It's like salt water, isn't that what they're saying? Which can remain liquid when temperatures drop below freezing. The finding contradicts theories that it's too arid and cold for water on the red planet. The measurements, based on a full-year study of the planet's temperature and humidity by NASA's Curiosity rover, indicate that conditions at the Gale crater are, quoting here, favorable for small quantities of brine to form, end quote. The brine is created when the salt absorbs water vapor from the atmosphere and then lowers the freezing point of the water. When mixed with calcium percolate, liquid water can exist down to, perchlorate, can exist down to around minus 70 degrees Celsius. The new measurements suggest that until just after sunrise during winter nights, temperatures and humidity levels are just right for brine to form. Curiosity first detected the salt perchlorate in 2008, but the weather data studies helped scientists understand that conditions would be high enough to produce brine. NASA said that when relative humidity gets above a threshold level, salts can absorb enough water molecules to become dissolved in a liquid. Now, what they are suggesting is that at night on Mars, there are puddles of water. I've been saying on this show now, especially over the last month, this whole flip-flop about is it, what are the poles, what are the ice caps made of? Is it water or not? Is it or not? And now it seems like there's something going on. This This is why I'm the king of conspiracy right here. I'm calling them out, man. Something ain't right. A joint venture between Lockheed Martin and Boeing has announced plans for a new rocket system. United Launch Alliance, the ULA, could slice the cost of pricey space launches in half. On Monday, yesterday, ULA presented a glimpse of Vulcan, the group's first in-house rocket design since the two combined forces in 2006 to provide launch services for the U.S. Yeah, we know about the Russian rocket engine debacle. ULA operations will have until now relied on existing Atlas V's and Delta IV heavy rockets. At a press conference this week, though, the firm said it's working on a mashup of the two that will be powered by reusable engines. By recycling booster engines, one of the most expensive components involved in rocket launches, ULA hopes to bring costs down to less than $100 million per launch, or less than half of the $225 million spent today. SpaceX, are you ready? SpaceX today launched a two-stage Falcon 9 rocket carrying an uncrewed cargo spacecraft called Dragon on a flight from Cape Canaveral, Florida, to the International Space Station. That's right, taking up that espresso machine. And that was the easy part, delivering the espresso. In a difficult bid to land a rocket stage on a floating barge for the first time, the private space exploration company was unsuccessful. That's right. SpaceX founder Elon Musk tweeted today, "Ascent successful. Dragon en route to space station. Rocket landed on drone ship, but too hard for survival." End quote. He later clarified, yeah, that it landed, but it tipped over. I'm not making this up. Percy Sledge, that's right, one of the greatest hits of all time, When a Man Loves a Woman. Oh, he died today. He died in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he died of natural causes. He went peacefully. He was in a hospice care center for cancer, and Percy Sledge, and that's it. When a Man Loves a Woman, that'll leave a puddle on the floor, won't it? So there you go. Rest in peace, Percy Sledge. Hundreds of planes flying commercially today could be vulnerable to having their onboard computers hacked and remotely taken over by someone using the plane's passenger Wi-Fi network, or even someone on the ground, according to a new report from the GAO, the Government Accountability Office. One of the authors of the report, Gerald Dillingham, told CNN that the planes, including the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, the Airbus 350, and 380, have an advanced cockpit that are wired into the same Wi-Fi system used by the passengers. And I ask you, why make this report public? My goodness. Some things you just need to keep private. I'm serious. Modern communication technologies, and I'm quoting here directly from the report, modern communications technologies, including IP connectivity, are increasingly used in aircraft systems, creating the possibility that unauthorized individuals might access and compromise aircraft avionics systems. According to the report, which is based on interviews with cybersecurity and aviation experts. The government investigators who wrote the report say it is theoretically possible for someone with just a laptop to A, commandeer the aircraft, B, put a virus into flight control computers, C, jeopardize the safety of the flight by taking control of computers, and D, take over the warning systems or even the navigation. The report explains that the air traffic control system is upgraded to use the internet-based technology on both the ground and in planes. Avionics, yes. can be compromised. Older plane systems aren't highly internet-based, so the risk of aircraft 20 years and older, well, it's just, quite frankly, less. That is frightening. Why make that public? Fix it. Fix it, and don't tell us about it, please. My goodness. A celebrity mountain lion today that lounge. When I say celebrity here in Los Angeles, this mountain lion is truly a celebrity. He's known. His name is P22. He lounged under a home in Las Vegas for hours and refused to budge. He was tempted with tennis balls, bean bags, food, and they couldn't get this guy, known as P22, to come out from under the house. A thorough check turned up no sign of the big cat. As of today, P22 left the house in Las Vegas, which is a really nice neighborhood, right next to the observatory, Griffith Park. It's right over here next to the studio, next to Fade to Black, here in Burbank. It's right across the freeway. Well, anyway, this mountain lion has been part of a fixture here. It just lives at Griffith Park, and he's been minding his own business for years, right? Well, anyway, they found him underneath the house. How did they know? They knew it was him because he's got a tracking device on him. He's got a little red tag in his ear, and everybody knew that it's P22. And officials from the National Park Services were trying to pick up the signal from the electronic beacon to find out where he was. And then later on today, all over Los Angeles, they found P22. He's back. He's back in Griffith Park. He's just cruising around. So there you go. He hasn't hurt anybody. He just kind of lives there. Homeowner Rachel Archianaco told Los Angeles television station KABC today that workers were installing a home security system and encountered the cougar in a crawl space. The one worker came sprinting out of the house, white-faced and shouting, "There's a mountain lion under your house." P22 wears this red ear tag, and he normally lives right here in Griffith Park. There's golf courses there. There's a zoo, lots of other things. And he arrived several years ago from the Santa Monica Mountains, crossed a couple of freeways to get there, and he's been hanging out ever since. He's been photographed and videoed, and he's just like our bro. All right, P22. Run free. Run free. In search, a paper was published online, a research paper of the Journal of Human Evolution. Scientists are reporting the results of years of study in early human stone tools unearthed at the famous Cima del Elefante cave in Spain. According to the author, the tools, along with human fossils and other fossilized faunal remains, provide a record of human habitation at the site going back with tools, are you ready? 1.22 million years. That's right. Much earlier than everybody has been reporting on around Europe 40,000 to 45,000 years ago. 1.22 million. North Korea has accused Mexico of illegally holding one of his cargo ships and demanded the release. That's right. That's right. Kim Jong-un is mad. The ship is called the Mudu Bong and was detained after it ran aground off the coast of Mexico last July. Mexico defended the move last Wednesday, saying it followed proper protocol because the company owns the ship, is North Korea's Ocean Maritime Management Company, has skirted United Nations sanctions. But the crew is staying in Acapulco at a resort. I'm not making this up. And North Korea accused Mexico, are you ready? For inhumane treatment of their crew. The Hatton Garden heist, as it will surely become to be known, was every safe deposit box holder's nightmare, every movie director's dream. Thieves using heavy cutting equipment and rappelling gear broke into the vault of the esteemed 60-year-old safe deposit company in the heart of London over the past Easter holiday weekend, taking advantage of as many as 4 days off to rifle through safety deposit boxes. How much did they make off with? Are you ready? 300 million smackaroos. Ducks. 300 million bucks. Jewelry, cash, gold. And they did it TV style. They had heavy equipment, jackhammers, drilled into this thing, rappelled down, and robbed. I see the Lifetime movie will be popping up here real soon. That's it. I've got more stories. We'll catch those at the end of the show. When I come back after the break, we will be joined by Joshua P. Warren. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Do not forget, tomorrow night, actor Dean Haglund of The X-Files will be with us. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren, his wishing machine, and a crash site. I'll be back with Joshua P. Warren right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of Fruity Loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fadernaut special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go back, Lee Tepe. All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren is with us. He's in the batter's box. He's getting warmed up. He's right here. Tomorrow night, actor Dean Haglund of The X-Files. What a week, huh? Last night, L.A. Marzulli. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren, who's got like the second coolest name in all of paranormal. And tomorrow night, Dean Haglund. All right, let's get the show cracking. Did everybody just see what I just tweeted right now? I did that in real time. That is a picture of my wishing machine. And I took that live here in the studio. So you can see, if you look in the background, I think you'll see Joshua Warren's picture on one of the monitors because he's live with us right now. And you can see that was taken literally a couple of minutes ago. That's how fast I can tweet these days. And with that, let's get the show cracking. I'm fired up. Joshua P. Warren was born and raised in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. At the age of 13, he wrote his first published book. Since then, he has published dozens more, including the regional bestseller Haunted Asheville and How to Hunt Ghosts, released by Simon & Schuster, and is the president of his multimedia productions company, Shadowbox Enterprises. His articles have been published internationally, and he has been covered by such mainstream media as CNN, Fox News, Entertainment Weekly, Southern Living, Delta Sky, Fate, New Woman, the New York Times, FHM, and Something About the Author. And he made the cover of the science journal Electric Spacecraft. A winner of the University of North Carolina Thomas Wolfe Award for Fiction. He wrote columns for the Asheville Citizen-Times from 1992 to 1995, and his first novel, The Evil in Asheville, was released in 2000. I would like to welcome back to the program our good friend, Joshua P. Warren. Joshua, how are you?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Great. Hi, Jimmy.
How you doing, my brother? Everything good?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't disappeared yet. You know, last time we talked, I was in North Carolina. Now I'm back in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. I'm at my Bermuda Triangle research base here in Puerto Rico. So any day I wake up and we're still in the same dimension, I guess that's a good day.
You know, you just don't know, do you? You don't.
Yeah, it's true because, you know, when these people disappear down here, sometimes you think that they really do go somewhere else. And it's funny because when it comes to the Bermuda Triangle in general, of course, people think about the ships that sink or the planes that crash. But when you start hearing stories about people who have almost disappeared but live to tell the tale, they describe seeing sometimes these glowing greenish metallic fogs that come rolling in off the ocean and surrounding them. And they can literally begin to sort of glimpse another place that's merging with ours. And in the same way we have atmospheric weather, which once in a while culminates in a tornado, I think we have kind of interdimensional weather as well. And once in a while, you just happen to be at one of these areas where there's a seam, if you will. And if you don't get out of there, you're going to get sucked in, and who knows what's on the other side.
Okay, let's stay on this green fog thing. And we've all kind of heard about it. We've never heard of it. It's almost like urban legend. You know what I mean? We hear these stories. Give us one. Give us a case.
All right. Well, one person I talked to actually worked on one of the local military bases, and he had an experience in the 1970s. This was the early 70s, and it was here on the western side of the island of Puerto Rico. And this was at night. Often these things happen at night, but not always. I mean, people have talked about similar things during the day, but it's much more striking and visible at night. He was working at a guard post and had finished for the evening and was actually leaving and heading back to the barracks. And he said that for the past year, there had been scientists in that area with a variety of instruments, and he didn't know exactly what kind of research they were conducting. He knew there was a lot of submarine work happening, but maybe it had something to do with what he experienced that night. Sure enough, he's walking by himself toward his barracks, and he said he looks over and he saw this strange greenish light. And at first, he thought this was maybe a fellow soldier, so he goes walking over to investigate. And he said the next thing he saw was this, and he had trouble sort of wording it, but he said it seemed like literally a smoke, like something was, or something steamy, as he put it. Now, this is all being translated to me from Spanish. And he said that as he got closer and began to worry, he actually made a call on the radio to see if there was some equipment malfunction or something that he should be looking into. And he said at that point he realized that it seemed as if the light that was sort of emanating from the smoke itself. And at this point, he became frightened, and he turned, of course, to leave the area. But he said that as he was leaving, that it actually seemed to brighten more and more behind him. And he, of course, made it to safety. And the next day, he was interrogated, and he had been told that over the years, several other soldiers had reported seeing similar things, and then they vanished. And they actually had a case file of these soldiers. And so that's one of the sort of mysteries of that base. And his is a fairly modern account, but there are very similar stories that go back hundreds of years, especially around a fort here called San Cristobal. And I find it interesting that often these reports happen around military bases, and it could be that those bases were put there to begin with for some reason related to this phenomenon.
You know, it was about 2 weeks ago. I was doing some research and goofing around, and I found, and this was non-paranormal, what I found, not unrelated to anything that you and I deal with on a daily basis, okay? But what I found was a map with all of the world, a chart, a map, an image of the world with all of the known shipwrecks, okay? That's it. All documented shipwrecks. As you can imagine, that's a lot of stuff. But everything that was documented maritime-wise with a dot on it. And I'm going to tell you that this was, a maritime chart. And what the rest of the world, you have a lot of things in the Mediterranean. You have things along the coast of Spain and Europe and, Cape Horn down at the tip of South America. Okay, those are the expected things. But it was kind of like even, except right there, man, between Cuba and Florida and the Bermuda Triangle was, you couldn't even see the water anymore. It was just it was way, way out of whack. I don't know what the proportion is, but it's got to be like 50-1 compared to the rest of the world. It was that overwhelming. And this was just a maritime chart.
Well, it's really creepy when you start thinking in depth. I mean, here I am on the coast of Puerto Rico. I'm actually on the southwest point. For people who are familiar with the island, I'm in Boca Raton. And I could get in my car and drive a short distance, certainly less than an hour, to the northwest point of the island. And then right off the coast, just a few miles off the coast, is the Puerto Rico Trench, which is the deepest point in the entire Atlantic. It's the second deepest point in the world. It's over 28,000 feet deep.
Wow.
So you could almost take Mount Everest and just slip it down under the water there.
Right.
And to be that close to something that's that deep, that can be a bit eerie. But also, we have, of course, these incredible gravity anomalies that you and I have discussed before. You have some of the weakest gravity on planet Earth right here, possibly the weakest gravity. And so a lot of my research down here has dealt with trying to look into the connection between gravity and paranormal phenomena. This is an area that has not been properly documented because it's very hard to study. Anybody can spend $30 and grab an EMF meter and go running around and taking some kind of cursory measurements. But measuring gravity is difficult because we are immersed in this gravitational field. So you somehow have to separate yourself from the background noise in a way. But I've been making headway with that. Taking instrument readings when we have the instruments in a state of free fall, for example, so they are experiencing 0G. That seems to make a big impact on giving us cleaner readings. But I think that the gravity holds a big key here in terms of many of these things related to not just UFOs, but ghostly phenomena, interdimensional warps, certainly the way the human mind perceives these things. And it may be that companies like, private companies and certainly government agencies like NASA have experienced some very weird things in space because of this lack of gravity that they have never fully disclosed to the rest of us.
Why is it Puerto Rico? And I just want to list a couple of things real quick. You've got, the largest radio telescope in the world is there. You have a lake there with UFO USOs and activity with military aircraft that has been going on, it seems like forever, certainly our entire lives. And the locals there with their sightings. And then, of course, we have the Bermuda Triangle. What's going on?
Well, here is one thing that is certainly notable. Just a week ago, I investigated a UFO crash site here in Puerto Rico. And I'm looking forward to telling you the story of that crash site because getting access to it was a pretty big deal. But I will tell you that after, this crash site was on the top of a mountain. And I was talking to the guy who owned the mountain. And this mountain is near a lagoon called the Laguna Cartagena.
That's right.
Where a lot of UFO activity occurs. And I was talking to him about, why this area was so active. And he pointed out to me that the top of that mountain where that UFO crashed is the absolute oldest land in the Caribbean. Not just Puerto Rico, but the Caribbean. That hundreds of millions of years ago, when dry land first emerged from the waters, it was that particular spot, literally that mountaintop, that came out of the water. Now, what are the chances that a dramatic UFO crash would happen on the exact piece of land that also was the oldest in the Caribbean? Because that is where geologists go to study the rocks and have been doing that for a long time. I had to scratch my head and think about that for a while. And then it occurred to me, if we have been visited for potentially millions of years, especially if time is sort of meaningless to these visitors and they can sort of bounce around wherever they want throughout history, then at a certain point in time, if these beings were flying around this part of the big blue watery planet and they wanted to explore land, well, that was the only spot in this area. And so, therefore, it may not only have sort of historic significance, but it may be one of the oldest UFO bases, so to speak, or certainly have a history along those lines. And so this whole area, it's a special area on a number of layers that or levels that we can't necessarily visualize. But at very least, geologically, if you consider we have the oldest land here, we have the deepest trench here on this side of the earth, we have mountains in the middle of this island that are over 4,000 feet tall, and then you go a few miles off and you have that trench which is almost 30,000 feet deep. It's just a very dynamic spot, and Earth is a big rumbling, roaring, flashing machine, and people often forget just how dynamic the planet is. And you have these areas where the energy is just conducted so much more easily and efficiently, and when that energy is passing through one of these points on planet Earth, it's going to affect everything else connected to it. And so when you combine all this together, it just seems like that it is one of those exchange points for energy between the Earth and the cosmos.
And, last week, and I know you heard about this, the fast radio bursts that have been detected and, made the mainstream media with its frequency rate of 187.5. And, all of this came out in the mainstream media, and boom, what did they do? They immediately report about, the radio telescope there in Puerto Rico and detecting, and I'm just like, it's always Puerto Rico. If it's not Marina Del Rey or Area 51, it's Puerto Rico. And to have that radio telescope there detecting and possibly even emitting signals from there, I don't think it's coincidence anymore.
No, it's certainly not. And also, I have been sort of amazed since I've been coming here over the past 8 years at how little gets reported back to the United States from Puerto Rico just because of the language barrier alone. Most people who visit Puerto Rico visit San Juan. And San Juan is a big tourist destination. As a matter of fact, it is the #1 tourist destination in the Caribbean. You have something like at least 2 to 3 million people who come in every year just on cruise ships alone. And so if your only experience coming to Puerto Rico has been going to San Juan, you're not going to have an experience that's that different from visiting any other U.S. state. Everybody speaks English. You've got all your typical, chain stores and big malls and that sort of thing. It's a tourism-driven economy.
And it's U.S. laws too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so it's treated just like any other state, but it's not a state. So what that means is that everybody here is a U.S. citizen. However, they can't vote for the president, but they can be drafted into the military.
That's true. If you're born in Puerto Rico, you're a U.S. citizen?
Yes, you are.
I did not know that.
Absolutely. And you don't have to pay any taxes to the IRS. And so there are certainly advantages to being a Puerto Rican. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who think that Puerto Rico should be completely independent. You always have those political debates. In fact, they got really ugly in the 1950s in the wake of the Cuban Revolution. But anyway, so all that said, here in Puerto Rico, if you go to San Juan, you might have the wrong impression that most people on this island are really not only speaking English, but communicating with the English-speaking world. And as it turns out, when you get out of San Juan, most people, they speak very, very basic English. They can communicate with you if you want to just have a typical pleasant conversation or something like that.
Sure.
But when it comes to real events that are happening, so much of this stuff is only being discussed and reported and archived in Spanish, and it never makes it out of here. And from what I can tell, and I feel confident saying this, I believe I am the first person who is from the States, from the English-speaking world, who has come here to Puerto Rico and spent this amount of time here, not just in San Juan, but all over the island, meeting with people wherever they are, however rural the environment may be, going into their homes, not only trying to communicate with them myself, but bringing translators, trying to do my best to earn their trust and getting them to open up about just how weird the activity is here on the island. And so eventually, I hope to put some kind of a really comprehensive report out there that shows people what life is like when you live here for a significant period of time, literally in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
Have you had your own UFO sighting out there in Puerto Rico?
I have had some sightings here, but nothing mind-blowing. Well, for example, I went to the Laguna Cartagena one evening. There was a lady who came down here from Chicago, a big UFO enthusiast who hired me to show her around. And I do that from time to time. If somebody's really into this stuff and I've got a little extra time, I'll be happy to act as their expedition guide and take them to some cool places. So this woman came down and she wanted to go out to the Laguna Cartagena at night. And so we went out there.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds good, but it is really scary out there at night.
Oh, man.
And frankly, I'm not even 100% sure about the legality of being out there at night, but it wasn't like it was locked off. So anyway, we went out there about 10 o'clock, and after just layering on the insect repellent, because you can imagine around the laguna at night, the insects can be bad. There's thousands of frogs everywhere. And it was just the two of us out. There's kind of a little dirt pathway that takes you way out into the middle of the lagoon, so you're surrounded by just dark water and cattails.
Oh, man.
So yeah. And there's no feeling quite like being by yourself at night in the middle of one of the world's greatest UFO hotspots.
Exactly, man. I'm waiting for this one. Keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah. Now, this woman from Chicago, she had worked most of her life as a professional photographer. She actually was one of these people who was so respected that she was hired by a lot of big rock bands to travel around the world and be their official behind-the-scenes photographer. And she had just a huge resume of all these bands, and she had the pictures to prove it. So this woman knew what she was doing when it came to photography.
So she was armed that night then?
Yeah, she had a camera that was pretty much as big as she was.
Right.
And of course, it was a digital camera. And so she's out there to take pictures. And I had a camera as well, but nothing compared to hers. And, of course, we both had our cell phones. So all of a sudden, she starts cursing. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she says, I've never seen my camera do this before, you know? And so she's fumbling around, and obviously her camera is malfunctioning, and we know what that means, don't we, Jimmy? Usually when the electronics or whatever else start to sort of, go haywire, you better look up.
Yeah, something's about to happen or is happening.
Yeah, and that's one of those weird little things that people often don't take into consideration. They go into the field with a backpack full of gear and find out that it's all useless because it's electronic based, and that's the first thing that freezes up is many of the electronic pieces. So I always carry mechanical cameras with me as well, with film cameras, when I go out to do serious investigations. So anyway, we look up. Right over top of our heads is this bright light that looks like a very bright star. And so I brought that to her attention because it was so bright. And so she looks up, and we're both standing there just staring at this thing. And then I see that it's starting to sort of wobble a little bit, like it's moving back and forth. Well, at this point, I took out my cell phone and my camera, and I start trying to snap pictures with my cell phone and my camera of this light. It wasn't showing up on either my camera or my cell phone. And then, as she and I both are looking at this light, it just goes and just shot away at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And that little chill went down my spine, and I realized we had something right over top of us, something of an unidentified flying object for sure, and something that to me should not be moving like that if it's anything conventional. And at that point, I got really excited because I thought, well, maybe we're going to see a bunch of stuff now, right? So we stayed out there for, I would say, another hour and never saw anything else that night. The bugs finally started getting so bad that we went back in. So I have seen things on that scale here 2 or 3 occasions now, but with my naked eyes, I still have not seen a craft, a nice big flying saucer.
Let's hold it right there, Joshua. We're up against a break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren. Tomorrow night, Dean Haglund of the X-Files. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be back right after this quick, short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Alternative Talk, KGRA.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren is with us live from Puerto Rico. All right, Joshua, we were talking. Let's stay on the subject of Puerto Rico, and I want to speak to our Twitter audience really quick. If you have any questions for Joshua, you can hashtag F2BQ. I see all of the questions here lined up, and I will get to those. And I want to stay. Everybody's asking questions, Joshua, about Puerto Rico. And Beverly just tweeted, does he know why the magnetic field is so strong in the triangle but nowhere else?
Well, you know, the truth is I have gone all around the triangle taking measurements, and it's not always any stronger here than it is anywhere else. There will be times when you will go through an area where you will get a really big, strong burst of magnetism. And I have seen a compass spin around one time, and I couldn't explain that. But based upon what I've been able to measure, I can't say that there are any sort of cohesive magnetic anomalies, but I can definitely tell you that the gravitational field is a lot weaker here. Now, of course, according to physicists, gravity does not necessarily connect to any of the other forces, you know, electricity or magnetism or nuclear forces. I have a hard time believing that. I think that everything must be connected. We just haven't found that connection yet.
Sure.
But, you know, we don't even know exactly what gravity is. We don't know exactly what causes it. We have a general idea, and we definitely know that certain spots on planet Earth have a gravitational field affected by apparently the types of minerals and of course, the elevation of certain structures. So, you know, why exactly are some places more or less strong gravitationally? That's something that's still a mystery, but magnetically, the magnetic field is all over the place, and it changes to some degree every day.
And you had the Chicxulub asteroid, of course, right there. Well, not right there, but close enough.
Well, from time to time, yeah. I mean, you have all kinds of circumstances that are varying that will, make some kind of an impact on what you're studying, especially if you're using really sensitive equipment. I used to be, when I started doing this kind of research over 20 years ago, a big fan of, getting the most sensitive equipment possible, and I would go out and buy everything in the world that was super sensitive, and if I couldn't find it, I'd build it myself. And I realized very quickly that that's not the answer. If you have something that is super sensitive, then it's going to drown out all the stuff you're looking for, because the little things you're looking for are kind of in the background. And it's not sensitivity that's a problem in paranormal research. It's filtering. It's being able to know what we're looking for to begin with, and then filter out all the noise so that we can only measure that one particular thing.
Are you in your paranormal gift bag? Do you have a K2 meter?
I don't have a K2. I have worked with K2 meters before. As you know, I do a lot of appearances on TV.
Yes.
And frequently they will have a grab bag with a K2 meter in it. And the K2 meter seems to be, in my opinion, fine for just the average person who wants to sort of take their first step into getting very general background readings. But there's a long list of things out there that are much more technically specific when you're trying to document the types of energy fields that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I was watching Dean Haglund's documentary. I've seen it like 10 times now. I was watching it, and it was kind of funny. He was walking around at a convention, paranormal convention, and it was the K2 meter. I'm just like, that's their go-to device, the K2 meter. I just had to ask. So let's get back to this crash site. Now, when did you first hear about it? Let's start there. And what's the history behind it before you tell us about what happened when you went up there?
Sure. Well, for starters, everybody's heard about the Roswell crash of 1947. And I've been to Roswell. I've been out there to the supposed crash sites, And what we find is that site is so famous that if you go out there these days, the odds that you're going to find any kind of remnant, any kind of physical evidence are almost zero, because it's just been so picked over by everybody over the years. And I think that the wonder of a crash site is that, you might be able to find some kind of physical evidence that's left behind. And fortunately, because that Puerto Rico it's an island for one thing, so it's physically isolated from the rest of the world. And then also you have a lot of military activity on this island, which that's a whole other discussion, which is very restrictive of people's access. It seems like that you may have a better chance of finding evidence if you can learn about an incident that has happened here. Well, there is a road that's literally an 8-minute drive from where I am this moment. It's called Route 303. It's known as the Extraterrestrial Highway. And if you drive down Route 303, there is a sign on the side of the road. It's an official Puerto Rico city government sign that was put there by the city of Lajas, designating that as the Ruta Extraterrestrial, the extraterrestrial highway, and it's got a little flying saucer silhouette on it, which is really cool because you don't see a lot of commercialization of the UFO thing here in Puerto Rico at all. And that sign is there because of an incident that happened on May 5th of 1997. Now, I have been over to that sign many times and had my picture taken next to it or photographed guests, but there is a gate next to it that says no trespassing, private property, and there's a long drive that goes up to a house. And it was always my understanding that the man who lived in that house was the man who owned the property where the crash occurred. But here, many people in Puerto Rico, especially on this part of the island, they do not have physical addresses. It's almost impossible to get somebody's phone number around here. And I had never had the opportunity to get in touch with this guy. Well, recently, I was there with a friend of mine who speaks great English and Spanish, and the gate was open, and we took advantage of it, and fortunately everything worked out. I got to meet the man. He's an older fella who lives in this house. His name is Francesco Negron. And fortunately, we kind of hit it off with him. He detected the sincerity that we had, and he told me the full story of what actually happened there on his property. He said that on May 5th of 1997 at 7 p.m., he was working on a tiling project in his kitchen. And at that time, he couldn't help but notice this blinding red ball of light plummeting from the sky toward his property. He had been walking in and out of his kitchen area to the outside, and he looked up and he saw this ball of light crash down on the top of this mountain behind his house, which he owns. And then there was this ear-shattering explosion. Boom! And then within minutes, the top of the mountain was on fire. So obviously he called the authorities. He thought maybe this was an airplane or something that had crashed. In no time, the fire department was there. The police were there. Very shortly thereafter, just a blur of different government agents and agencies were appearing, cordoning the section off. There were helicopters flying.
I remember this now. Keep going. But wasn't this the one where the official report was it was a meteor, but there was never a crater or nothing was ever found?
Actually, they never gave an official report.
Okay, continue. That's my stupid brain. So sorry, but was there a meteor involved or reports of a meteor?
Well, the question was obviously asked, because it was easy for them to quickly tell this was no conventional aircraft. So the next obvious question was this a meteorite? Right. And there were all kinds of scientists over the following days who were coming down off the mountain. And of course, he was asking them, what is it? What is it? Because they wouldn't even let him go up there at first. Right. And he'd say, was it a meteorite? And they would say, no, it's not a meteorite. It's not an airplane. We don't know what it is.
Right.
Don't go up there because the ground is radioactive.
Wow. So this is the site that you got to. There was so much mystery behind this, and I remember trying to get information about this, and it was just sketchy from the word go as far as official reports. Okay, continue. Go. Okay, first, keep going.
So he said that, after this happened, he finally got an opportunity to go up there himself. You have to hike about an hour or more up this really steep mountain through a lot of thorny bushes. And when he finally got to the top of the mountain, he said it was obvious where this thing had hit. He said there wasn't a crater there like you would expect with a meteorite, but there was a depression on the ground. The heat was so intense. Not only were there charred rocks all over the place, but he said the cactuses looked as if they had been melted, and there was this kind of bluish substance that also appeared to be melted and kind of dripped around all over the cactuses in various parts of the landscape. He said the heat was so intense that the barbed wire on the fences up there had melted. And he went up there and saw all this, but he didn't want to spend too much time because they told him, well, it's radioactive, So after that, he said there were so many curiosity seekers from the island who were showing up, trying to get onto his property. He eventually just had to be very strict and say, no, not letting anybody on my property anymore. It's a liability. And for years, it's been that way. But it was because of that incident and the local mayor sort of people could say the mayor was trying to capitalize on some of the publicity, but the fact of the matter is, from everything I've seen, the mayor he's a true believer, and he's really interested in this stuff. And that led to the official designation of this place and the sign outside his house as the extraterrestrial highway.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sign here. Somebody just tweeted it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Even though nobody had been allowed up there for years, he agreed to let me and my friend Ellis hike up to this site with an instrument pack as long as we had somebody appropriate to guide us, because he said you can get lost up there, very easily. It has happened to other people in the past. And he has a grandson who's 30 years old who has been running around that property since he was 10, and the grandson agreed to guide us to the site. So 1 week later, we went back armed to the teeth with scientific gear. I'll give you a list of some of the things that I had. Of course, I had a Geiger counter. I had 2 different tri-field natural EM meters, models 1 and 2, so I could measure electric fields, magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields, radio waves, microwaves. I had an electrostatic field meter that would show me electrostatic charges and polarity. I had a variety of cameras, digital high definition 3D camera that shot stills and video, obviously regular video camera, infrared camera, metal detector, temperature gauges, specimen bags. I mean, I don't remember all the stuff that I had, but I was cramming everything I could pack into my backpack. And so we got up early in the morning, and it was really overgrown. And frankly, you also have to be a little bit careful because there are wild monkeys in that area that carry diseases. They have big, vicious fangs, and they happen to be the fastest monkeys on planet Earth.
And they probably throw poop.
Oh, the horror.
The horror.
Yeah. And so, I had a machete, and that would have ruined my day to have to chop a monkey's head off. But, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So we go carving our way up this, very rutted out hill. And now, mind you, this site, this crash occurred 18 years ago, come next month. So I understand. It's not like, this happened yesterday and there's a chance I'm going to walk up there and, find the gear shift stick or whatever, from the crap.
Yeah,
so,
a seat or something. Right.
Yeah. So as we got up toward the top of this mountain, the views, of course, were just incredible. And as we started getting closer to the epicenter of the incident, it became very obvious. The growth pattern was changing dramatically. So the growth that was very thick and lush and tangled was getting sort of sicker and sicker looking, and just thinner altogether. And as I started getting close, of course, there were just rocks all over the place that were charred black. I mean, deeply charred black.
Wow.
Kind of surprising for 18 years ago that these rocks would still look like this.
Yeah.
And then as we got closer at the actual site, there is pretty much just a clearing there. But here is what I found right on the outskirts, right at the boundary of the crash site. To me, to a lot of people, this would just seem like the most mundane thing. But to me, my eyes lit up. This was a thing of beauty. There was a cactus standing there. Now, a cactus can live for hundreds of years. And the arm of this cactus told the entire story, because you can see an absolute distinct delineation between before the crash and after the crash on the arm of this cactus. It almost looks like there's a joint on the cactus. From the moment when the crash occurred down, if you will, it looks gray and melty and weird. And then from the point of the crash, where it kind of amazingly continued to grow, it looks much more normal. Still not completely healthy, but you can look at this one arm of this cactus and say, there it is. Mm-hmm. Mother Nature froze this incident in time on the arm of this plant. And I told our guide, Gabi, I said, man, I would love to have that thing analyzed, to have that arm of that cactus analyzed. And I kind of hesitated to ask him if I could if I could take that arm of that cactus, because it was just such a beautiful exemplification of this historic incident.
Sure.
But I knew if I didn't do it, then probably nobody more qualified is ever going to go up there, and we're just going to lose it eventually. So he said, "Hey, I know that you're the real deal. You'll do the right thing. Take it." So I took my machete and chopped the arm of that cactus off, and I brought back from that crash site the arm of the cactus, some of these charred rocks. I will tell you that when I was up there, I did not detect any radioactivity, but I imagine that if there had been some kind of radioactive dust or powder on the ground over 18 years on the top of a mountain, it probably would have washed off in some of these hard tropical rains, and is probably buried in layers of mud at the bottom of this mountain. But nonetheless, I now have this incredible piece of this cactus. I have these charred rocks, and I'm in the process of trying to find the perfect laboratory or laboratories to work with me to analyze these. So if anybody in your listenership knows of a cactus expert,
Sure.
that'd be a good place to start.
Let me ask you, let's run down the list here. Did you break out the metal detector?
Yes, I did.
And?
I didn't find anything with the metal detector. I didn't pick up any radiation. I didn't pick up any electrical anomalies, no electromagnetic anomalies. Everything was very clean. I didn't find any of the blue stuff. So I have no doubt that whatever government agencies were up there, they did their job very well. I did, at one point, see what I thought was a piece of trash in the brush, and it was a painter's mask, and which is a very odd thing to find at the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. So I imagine that was somebody from one of the crews who was up there, and I guess all they had was a little paper painter's mask to try to conceal themselves from contamination. But no, I didn't see anything up there that looked, from the perspective of the meters, that seemed out of place. But there were, how many people are going to look at the cactus, though?
Yeah, totally. And describe this for me. Was it? What was the site itself? Was it a circular depression? Was it crater-like? Was it circular? And how big across? Can you describe that for me in detail?
Sure, I will do my best because, after all this time, it looks different, I'm told, than how it did, especially considering, there is scraggly growth and everything is kind of misshapen from weather. But I would say, generally speaking, my sense was that the impact site was perhaps 15 to 20 feet in diameter. I did not see any type of a very clear depression like they talked about, only an area where more of the ground was clear compared to the other areas where the impact did not happen. And so my sense of this thing was that, it was probably a craft that was, again, maybe 20 feet in diameter, we'll say, that just, slammed right into the top of that mountain. And who knows if it was on fire before it crashed. Maybe it was never actually on fire. Maybe it was just extremely hot, and that caused everything else to burst into flames up there.
Sure. Was there ever any witnesses about debris retrieval?
Well,
I mean, how would they get it off of the mountain? There's no road, right?
There was at that time some little trails that they had used for horses, so there was that. But he said that over the next week, they had very large helicopters that were flying in and out of there with, at first, they thought they were instrument packs hanging off of them. But they were lowering things onto the mountain and taking things off of the mountain via these helicopters. And there were other people in the area who said that during that period of time, they actually saw alien beings running around, but I have yet to find somebody who will tell me that directly.
I remember, again, this is my foggy memory, but there was I remember seeing a video of a news report. I wish I could go back and find this. The local news reporting that at the time of the impact, or while it was happening, while the sightings, transmissions, the TV station was interrupted, and the local radio station there was interrupted. Do you know anything about that? Or is it the wrong case? This is my mind.
Actually, there have been other crashes here in Puerto Rico. And I don't know about that happening in connection with this particular case, but a few years before that, I'm thinking 1993, there was also a crash of a UFO on the other side of the island around the El Yunque rainforest. And so oftentimes stories related to that crash get understandably kind of mixed into stories related to this crash. And of course, what that just goes to show is we're talking about a span of 4 or 5 years where 2 significant crashes happen on this little island, which is 100 miles by 35 miles. So there is a lot of UFO activity happening here. And the people here really are very, very tight-lipped at first when it comes to discussing some of these things. I mean, a lot of people, as soon as they see me and I start asking about UFOs, they think I'm with the military or some other suspicious kind of figure because, I stand out like a sore thumb here.
You look like a cop, that's why.
I absolutely look like that type of dude, I mean, I'm much taller than everybody here. I'm working on my Spanish, but it's not very good. And with just my haircut and that sort of thing, I mean, I definitely look more like, the type of figure that would be associated with the authorities.
You look like the figure that would scare the crap out of somebody, Joshua. That's what you look like. Hey, a comment here just came in from Fran, and it's pretty good. She says, "Bring the cactus to Arizona." Makes sense if you think about it. University of Arizona, ASU, or NAU has to have somebody there that is a cactus expert. And I thought that's a pretty good comment. It's too obvious, but it makes perfect sense. I would think. Yeah. So that's something worth checking out. If anybody does have any researcher that can check out Joshua's cacti, please contact us. You can also what's your email address that you would have somebody use, Joshua?
Sure. My personal website is joshuapwarren.com. There's no period after the P. And if you go to joshuapwarren.com, you'll find my email address there. Also, there is a section called Gallery of the Strange. And if you click there, you can see video clips and pictures of these UFOs and USOs from Puerto Rico. In fact, some of the best I've come across in general in my research. There's also a section with ghost photos. There's a section with space mysteries. Just a lot of really good stuff. I mean, I'm talking probably hundreds of different images, all freely available. So hopefully your listeners will be able to go to joshuapwarren.com and enjoy that stuff and contact me and give me any good leads or support for analyzing the data.
I'll tell everybody right now, Joshua's Gallery of the Strange is truly internet gold. Man, I remember you and I spent like an hour one day just clicking through the Gallery of the Strange and talking about it. Yeah, Gallery of the Strange, joshuapwarren.com. Also, what's your Twitter handle?
It is simply enough at Joshua P. Warren.
And, okay, so everybody right now, we burn through about 3,000-4,000 tweets per show. So let's clog up Joshua's Twitter feed right now. Everybody say hello to at Joshua P. Warren at Twitter. And let's keep that going, and we'll keep you involved in everything. And it's funny that you brought up the P, because right now in Twitter, it just passed by. This is from Dennis. He says, okay, I have to ask the obvious question. Why no dot after the letter P? It's right here. It's right here. Why no dot after the letter P? And I'm so used to not doing the dot that when I was everybody here, the staff, when we were running the publicity out on social media, we didn't do the dot after the letter P, and it's just what we do. But why no period? Why no dot after P?
It seems like one dot is enough. You got .com. Mm-hmm. It's JoshuaP.Warren.com. It just sounds like too much. I don't know. I think it's just unnecessary, and I'm not sure if there's a better reason for it than that. And in fact, the reason that I even use the P is that I started publishing books when I was a teenager. I wrote my first published book when I was 14, and it was published when I was 15. And it turns out there was another guy who was my age at another school district in my area whose name was also Joshua Warren, and he also wanted to be a writer and an artist. And so I used the P to differentiate myself from him. It turns out it really wasn't that necessary in the long run because he never really made much of a writing career. But yeah, I always used the P, and it kind of stuck. And also people ask me all the time if I'm related to Ed and Lorraine Warren. And there is no relation there whatsoever. I've met Lorraine Warren, lovely lady, but no connection.
Yeah, I never thought about that. So there is no connection. Yeah, you mentioning it, I don't know why I never brought that up before, but yeah, I never thought of Ed and Lorraine Warren. There is no connection. How strange, though.
Yeah, people just take for granted that, because obviously one of my biggest sellers was a book called How to Hunt Ghosts, and a lot of people know me for my ghost research, and so they just presume that I must be connected to them. But as a matter of fact, I even read an article one time where somebody suggested that I was using a fake name to associate myself with them. And I thought that was hilarious.
That's your God-given, right? Joshua P.
Yes,
Warren.
That's right.
That's your God-given. All right. Now, let's I wanted to, really quick, is there any way to make your own wishing machine?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can make a wishing machine. There is a wonderful series of books out there by a man named Charles Casamano that will tell you different methods of making wishing machine and radionic machine type devices. One of them is called simply enough psychic power. The other is called psionic power. But again, his last name is Casamano, Cosimano. For people who are hands-on and who like to craft their own stuff, just buy some of Charles Casamano's books and you can learn for yourself. But I, on the other hand, I don't like to make things like that. I'd rather buy them and have somebody who is really good at what they do make it. And also, radionics is such a weird field. It takes you years and years and years of experimentation and study, I think, to get some of the nuances right, to make these things as effective as possible. And that's why, I partnered up with Dr. Mulder, who we affectionately call him, because obviously he doesn't want his real name to be used. And people say, well, why is that? Why doesn't he want his real name to be used? Well, think about this realistically. If everybody knows that you make boxes that make wishes come true, people are going to beat a pathway to your door. They're going to crawl in the windows. I mean, it's going to be mayhem. And he likes his privacy. And so he's very happy to make these machines and to deal directly with customers and talk to them and give them guidance, but he does not want his privacy to be compromised. And he has spent years and years and years experimenting with these different types of devices and what works best. And so I say, if you're going to make your own, fine, but don't judge radionics entirely by what you create, because you could probably sit down and saw yourself up a violin and glue it together as well, but it's probably not going to sound as good as a Stradivarius.
No doubt. I'm holding here's mine right here. I got my wishing machine right here. We're going to talk more about this in a second, and because I'll tell the audience about a session that I did on New Year's Eve with the wishing machine, and we'll talk about that too as well. We're going to run commercial-free, Joshua, for this segment, just because it's you, by the way. Just because it's you. Now, I have to ask you, this picture now has been tweeted 4 or 5 times. There's a picture. Everybody wants to know what the heck is going on. It's you and a microwave. Okay, you're sitting in your laboratory. You've got your protective glasses on. It looks like you've got a cigarette. You've got a heater that you're about to light, and you're sitting in front of a microwave. What is going on in this picture, and what is about to happen? What did happen? Bad things? What's going on in this picture, my friend?
Well, you have to be careful when you do the microwave experiment. It's not recommended for everybody. Not for the kiddies. Basically, this is a very simple way of creating a ball of plasma in your kitchen. And, of course, I have done a lot of work on the Brown Mountain Lights. In fact, I have a booklet out on the Brown Mountain Lights at my website. You can find a section of ebooks that I've written, and one of them you can get is about Brown Mountain. And the Brown Mountain Lights, I believe, are kind of balls of plasma. They're glowing balls that appear around this mountain at night. So at one point, I did a video where I was trying to sort of explain what plasma is. And there is one way of creating plasma using a microwave and a cigarette and a candle. And essentially what you do, it's not very difficult. You want to, let's see, I'm trying to remember all the steps. You put the candle in the microwave and you light it, and then you blow some smoke in there so you have a lot of carbon in the air. And you turn on the microwave and you close the door. Now, I don't think that anybody should do this based upon the instructions that I've just given, because I have not done this in years and I may be forgetting a crucial step. But if you go to YouTube and just look for Joshua P. Warren and microwave, you'll probably find the actual video that explains the details. But essentially, when you do all this properly and you hit the start button on the microwave, it starts flashing and it looks, incredible and psychedelic, and all of a sudden this glowing ball of fire appears inside the microwave. And sometimes it's sort of bouncing around in there. So you do not want to do this with a microwave that you plan to use again.
Right.
And also you need to make sure that the microwave is as clean as possible, because if there's a little crumb or something in there, the ball of plasma may stick to it and just sit there and kind of start burning a hole through the interior there. So it's not something that you're supposed to do, but it's if you're an experimenter and you're an engineer type, and you got an extra microwave laying around, it looks pretty darn amazing. You'll never forget the sight of having a ball of plasma zipping around inside your microwave.
Wow. So what does it look like? What does it look like, and how big is the ball?
It's about the size of a golf ball.
No, wait. No. Okay, I've got a microwave.
Now I'm going to be responsible now for the tragedy of Jimmy Church.
Yeah, I got a microwave, a fresh pack of candles, and a pack of Camels.
You've got the crucial elements there. But to watch the video before you do it, though, just to make sure I haven't forgotten something. It's like the size of a golf ball. And, of course, that also depends some on the size of your microwave. And it usually has kind of a yellowish-orange appearance. But it's an amazing thing. It's the easiest way in the world to create a ball of plasma. And what you can see when you do this is it kind of adheres to the magnetic field structure within the microwave. So it's a really interesting way of also visualizing these otherwise invisible fields that are at work inside the microwave.
How long does it last?
Well, it will last until you open the door of the microwave. And usually I would say you don't want to let it run for more than about 10 or 15 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Time for a disclaimer. Do not attempt. We have done nothing here. Do not contact your lawyer tomorrow and say Jimmy Church said.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, let me also point this out. If you do use a candle, make sure it is not a candle that has a little piece of metal on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You never want to put any metal in the microwave, so remove that if the candle has it.
Wow. I know what I'm doing tonight. Wow, that is okay. Wow, and now let's back up for a second. Now let's discuss the elements here. We have the carbon monoxide, right, from the cigarette smoke.
It's just carbon in general.
Just carbon. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the candle has to do with it. But we're going to get back to that in a second. But where I'm headed is all of these could be in a natural environment, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So with the Brown Mountain Lights, where is the microwave energy potentially coming from?
Well, for one thing, a candle flame is already a type of plasma.
Okay.
So what you're really putting a plasma in the microwave to begin with, and then when you turn the microwave on, that plasma is super excited by the extra energy that's being added, and then of course it's the very strong magnetic fields that sort of scoop it up into a little focused ball. At Brown Mountain, the lights definitely seem to appear more when there is carbon in the air. So, for example, if you have a lot of campers that are burning campfires, or once in a while you'll get lucky and there will be a forest fire up there. And when you go up there and there's a forest fire, the lights can be extremely bright on the days when that's happening. But as far as the microwaves being concerned, microwaves are not essential to create a ball of plasma. This is just one way in which a ball of plasma can be created. But, all that a microwave really is it's just an electromagnetic wave of a certain frequency. And at Brown Mountain, you have all kinds of different weird frequencies that are coming out of this mountain. Some of those may be microwaves. Some of them might be even lower. Some might be a little bit higher. We still don't know everything about how those lights appear, but ultimately, the bottom line is when you have an incredible amount of energy in the form of a wave or an electrical discharge coming from a specific point, and you, especially say at Brown Mountain, where these points might even intersect,
right,
and interfere with each other,
right,
and that you create sort of it's called interferometric interference pattern. So basically, it's sort of like a little area where these energy fields start sort of swirling around each other. If you want to envision it that way, I kind of look at it like when you stare at a stream, and the stream hits a rock and it creates a little whirlpool on the other side. Well, a similar thing is happening with the fields that are coming out of the mountain. And so it creates, these little temporary pools that are swirling. And when the conditions are right with enough carbon in the air, it seems to create what appears to be a self-contained ball of energy, but it's actually a small visible part of a much larger invisible system.
We're having a big convention out here in Joshua Tree. It's called Contacting the Desert, May 29th through the 31st. And, we gave away a bunch of tickets and all the Fadernauts, and, our family's going to be out there. It's going to be great. And somebody just tweeted, okay, who's bringing the microwave to Joshua Tree? Oh, man. I've got to try this. But I just think that we're talking about a bunch of, 2 or 3 or 4 natural elements, just like you just said, that all they need to do is intersect at the right time, and boom, you're going to have this. And it just seems very, very easy and very fundamental, And does the microwave melt the candle or not?
During that length of time, 10 or 15 seconds, I don't recall seeing any significant change in the candle.
Okay. Did you go for any long distance runs, like 2 or 3 minutes or anything?
I honestly don't think I did, but because in fact, in the video at YouTube there, we let it run for a pretty good length of time, and long enough to get a good shot of it, so that you can really see clearly, this ball of light inside there. But it is a little bit scary when you do this. Because you get this sense, I don't know how realistic it is, but you get this sense that at some point this whole thing's just going to explode in your face.
Yeah, black hole. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Well, I'm going to try it out. I am. I think we need to do this, and I think we have a spare microwave over at Cassidy Church. So it's something that I'm very curious about. Now, let's talk about the wishing machine. You have an event that's coming up, a wishing machine event in Asheville. What's the date on that, by the way?
Absolutely. This is, let me put it this way. I just did a wishing machine workshop in Sedona, which was a big hit. And yet this one I'm doing in Asheville, because it's my hometown, is going to be a wishing machine extravaganza. Okay. So I'll tell you what that means. It's going to happen on Sunday, July the 19th. It's going to be an 8-hour package. And here's how it starts. From 1 to 4 p.m. in the big historic theater of the Asheville Masonic Temple, we are going to have a fantastic wishing machine workshop. This is going to be the first, last, and only time that Dr. Mulder is actually going to come there in person and meet with people. And he's even going to bring with him an antique big wooden cabinet Hieronymus machine, which is Hieronymus was a radionics practitioner who's kind of legendary in the field. He died in the 1980s. And Dr. Mulder has one of his machines, which he uses just about every day in his own workshop. It's never been put on display. He's going to put that on a truck and bring it up. We're going to have that for the day so people can come up there and play with it and, really touch this thing. And then after that, we're going to all go and have a private cocktail party at a spot that I hand-selected that's just got a really nice, private kind of candlelit, dim atmosphere where we can all mingle and talk about God knows what. Then we're going to go on a haunted Asheville ghost tour, probably about 7 p.m., go around to all the really mysterious and spooky sites in downtown Asheville. And then we're finally going to end up back at my Asheville Mystery Museum, where I'm going to have some special new exhibits and artifacts on display. That whole thing now is going to cost. And let me preface this by saying, when I did my wishing machine workshop in Sedona, some of the tickets there were $400. This whole thing in Asheville that I've just described, if anybody wants to be there and they buy their ticket right now, it costs $99.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
man,
$99.
Asheville's got it going on. Every time I talk to you and you're on this show, I wish I was in Asheville. Yeah, if anybody's going to be in the area, you've got to go and do that. I'm full on jealous. And of all places, the Masonic Temple. Really, Joshua, you got to throw that in.
Oh yeah, it just keeps getting better and better. And I even have a few other surprises that I haven't even. I'm sort of saving for everybody when they get there. So I've told people. I can tell you with absolute honesty, do what you have to do. Get on an airplane. I know you're not supposed to hitchhike, but if you're ever going to do it, this is a good time to do it. Do what you have to do to get there, because I would not tell you this is going to be as fantastic as it will be if it weren't true. So if you're ever going to come to Asheville, it's one of the most beautiful, scenic, fun places anyway. It's called Beer City. There are bars and restaurants, museums, live music, street performers, all that kind of stuff there. So it's the perfect backdrop. You add this to it, I think that for most people who are there that day, it will probably be the best day of their lives.
Have you ever messed with, and I was thinking about you the other day, and I will tell everybody about the coincidence with the wishing machine that happened between you and I a couple of days ago, but the Devil's Box you know, with the mirrors, and you can trap a spirit. Do you have one of those, and have you ever messed with one?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was one of the, I think, key people who kind of brought the Devil's Toy Box to the attention of the world. Early on in my years as a ghost researcher, I had always noticed that frequently I would go into a haunted house and somebody would say, you know, this is the haunted room. And I would walk in, and somewhere I would find two mirrors or two similar reflective surfaces pointed toward each other. And this happened so often that there were times where I would go into a house and I would just look for the room with the reflective surfaces, and I would say, let me guess, this is the most active spot. And they would say, yes. So I'd heard, you know, all these stories about how, you know, mirrors can be put together to create these weird effects. And you know, of course, then you also have things like the psychomantium and scrying, and a long history of that. So I'd heard somewhere about this thing called a Devil's Toy Box. I can't tell you exactly where I came across this information, but I took 6 square mirrors and I put them all together into a cube shape with all the reflective surfaces facing inward and glued it together. And then took a...
How big was it?
Each one of the mirrors was probably about 5 inches by 5 inches. And so I took one of these suction microphones, like you can use if you want to record a phone conversation.
Yep.
They used to be very common. You'd find them at Radio Shack. I guess they probably call it like an induction microphone. And so I stuck the microphone via the suction cup on the side of this thing.
Okay, really quick, hold on, I have to interrupt before we forget. Got a couple of tweets from people in Asheville. They want that date again. What is the date they'd like to buy tickets? What is the date?
Okay, the date is Sunday, July 19th, 2015. It starts at 1 p.m. If you go to either joshuapwarren.com, you'll find a link, or if you go to wishingmachineproject.com, that's where you're going to end up anyway. If you go to wishingmachineproject.com, there's a section there called workshops, and it's got all the information. And obviously, $99 is the price right now. As we get closer, that price will go up. So everybody, if you're going to do it, you know, buy your ticket now.
Okay, there you go. So back to the Devil's Toy Box. So you glue this thing together, and then...
So you put the suction on it, the suction microphone, and at that time I think it was like a Marantz PMD 430 or something like that, kind of like a professional audio cassette tape recorder, because I used to do a lot of filmmaking and we would use these recorders. And I plugged the microphone into the audio cassette recorder deck and just let it record. I think the first time I did it, I let it record for about 5 minutes. And I played it back, and after about 30 seconds, I started hearing these thumping sounds. And I couldn't figure out what was causing that, so I did another recording. And over time, I once in a while would get a recording from this box that would sound like the most god-awful, demonic growling and roaring. I mean, it was almost like you have your ear up to the door of hell. It was, I mean, I'm talking, this is some scary sounding stuff that would come out of this box. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you as a side note, there has only been one other occasion when I've heard a similar recording like that I know is authentic. And that came from another mirror experiment, a psychomantium mirror experiment that I did with Dr. Moody in Black Mountain, North Carolina. But anyway, another story for another time, perhaps. But so I at first I was like, okay, well, this is some kind of holy grail here, because this box is serving as an antenna of some kind. It's creating some kind of negative interdimensional space in there that these voices or whatever else are flowing through. And I started talking about it and telling other people and, writing about it. But the problem, as is often the case with these paranormal technologies, is that it was never consistent. So it wasn't like I could hook it up and say, well, give it 45 seconds and you'll get something. Sometimes you would and sometimes you wouldn't. And I would take it to different places and try it out. That didn't seem to matter so much. So I have, of course, over the years, I've gotten emails from people all over the world who have done their own experiments. And some people have said, whoa, this scared me so bad. I'm never going to use this thing again. And they destroyed it. Some of these people say that when they put it together, a creepy activity in their house picked up altogether, that they were inviting, dark things in and they didn't want to be around it. And then there are people who would say, I haven't gotten anything so far. So it's just another tool, another thing to experiment with. But I think the name, the Devil's Toy Box, is very fitting.
I'm reading right here. It's February 2012. A paranormal researcher by the name of Joshua P. Warren released the recorded audio from one of his latest experiments, the Devil's Toy Box. And I'm looking at these pictures and how you set up the experiment. And I got to tell you, Joshua, you're out of your friggin' mind, man. You are seriously, okay, as if the plasma microwave wasn't enough.
Right.
Now, tell me about the gates of hell sounds. What was it that made it so terrifying?
Well, I guess it's because it sounded to me, and I think to most people, a bit inhuman. It's one thing when you get an EVP type recording, and as you may or may not recall, I'm very, very reserved when it comes to my interpretation of EVP stuff. I think people get way too creative with those and read way too much into them, and I'm pretty hard on EVP research in general. But usually when people get those kinds of recordings, if you can hear what sounds like a voice, it usually sounds like a human voice. The sounds that we were getting from the Devil's Toy Box, I don't think you could call human. And that's why, it's very easy to throw this kind of loaded word demonic in there, but that's how it makes you feel when you hear it.
Right.
That's why, that's why it's so creepy, I believe. Yeah.
Was it? We're up against a break. You remember the Gates of Hell recording that came from the mining? I want to say it was Scandinavia.
Siberia.
Siberia.
Right?
Did it sound like that?
The old classic Art Bell.
Yes. I didn't want to say it, but yes.
I wouldn't say that it sounded quite like that to me, and I'm just trying to remember. I think that sound was more like people wailing as if they were in agony.
Yes.
And this sound was more like some kind of again, inhuman beings that are just like angrily roaring and carrying on, and with this kind of weird, electronic edge to it.
Wow.
So it sounded a little different to me. Yeah.
Wow. You're scaring the crap out of me. I remember one night, it was late at night, we're in bed, Rita and I played the Siberian well thing, right? Somebody just tweeted that was proven to be a hoax. Doesn't matter. Still scared the crap out of me. But anyway, so I'm listening to it. That thing goes on and on and on. In the morning, when Rita and I woke up, she yelled at me for she didn't know, that's what she was sleeping when that was playing, and it was not a good night for her dream wise. And she was really upset. Okay, we're up against a break. Let's take a quick break. About 2 minutes tonight, Joshua P. Warren. This is Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Dean Hagland is with us. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. When we come back, we're going to talk about the wishing machine and my little wishing machine seminar I did on New Year's Eve. We'll be back right after this. Hang on, Joshua. Stay right there.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses tonight. Joshua P. Warren is with us tomorrow night. Dean Haglund of the X-Files. All right, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's get right back to it. Joshua, you know, I always like a good psychomantium story, but I really do. And that is one of the things out there that kind of freaks me out the most. But and I want you to tell me one before we wrap the show tonight. But let's get to the wishing machine. Now, on New Year's Eve, we had a bunch of very special guests over at my house, and one of them was Steve Murillo. He was here with his wife, Pat. Steve Murillo, as you know, ran MUFON here for 13 years in Southern California. And we had a couple of Fadernauts over, and we sat down at our dining room table, and we had a wishing machine session before the stroke of midnight. How cool is that? Pretty good setup, right?
Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Now, I gave everybody instructions, and I didn't have anybody reveal their wishes or anything. And I didn't with mine as well. And so we did it, and we had our photographs together. I actually used a cell phone. So instead of having an actual picture, I had the picture up on my cell phone and placed it on the wishing machine. Okay, does it make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. You used an electronic sample.
Yes, I used an electronic sample, and I did my wish. And now, the technique that you use with this, and I won't get into the technical side of it, but rubbing your thumb on the glass or the plastic section and turning the knob. Complete instructions went down to everybody at the session, and it was so interesting to me to watch everybody at the table dial in each of the 9 knobs. Everybody could do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? There was no if, ands, or buts. I don't get it. No. Everybody was able to do it. Now, I will go to me. My wish came true. Okay? Very simple. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about getting a new car or getting a new watch or anything like that. I went to, I don't want to give it away. I'm not going to get into that, so nobody can ask, and don't ask. I'm not going to tell you what it was. But it was more of I wanted an experience or a life event to happen, and it did. And it was pretty amazing to me that it actually came to pass. What is your experience with the wishing machine? Is it 100%? Do you have to be specific? And how do you get it to work?
For me, my experience with the wishing machine has been 100%. And there is a certain technique. And in fact, we are constantly adding new content to our instructions to help sort of clarify things that we're learning about making the technique easier. But let me just give you something that happened to me just a few months ago. That I have so many stories that are so amazing, it sounds like BS when I tell them. Okay, the hardest part is making people understand that I'm not making these stories up. But I'll give you, to me, just a crystal clear case of how amazing this machine can be. As you know, thousands of people around the world now have these wishing machines. The very best in the world, I can confidently say, are the ones that you'll find at wishingmachineproject.com. And I got an email, and every single day I get emails from people around the world telling me these miraculous stories about things that have happened to them, life-altering things with this machine. Well, I got an email from a guy in Canada who said that he, for over 20 years, had been a metal detector, and that yet in all that time he'd never found anything made of gold and diamonds, and that's what he wanted as his first wish. So he got the machine out. He tuned it to find something made of gold with diamonds because he had, shortly after that, a metal detecting session scheduled. But it turns out his plans fell through, and he didn't get to go metal detecting. Nonetheless, he happened to be walking down the street in his town, and he looked down on the sidewalk, and lo and behold, here he found a gold bracelet with diamonds in it. And he wrote me, and he goes, "Man, I can't believe it. I didn't even have to dig, and my wish came true." So I read that, and I thought, wow, that's cool. I'm going to try that, because just because I have wishing machines doesn't mean that I always think of everything to try. So at that time, here I was in Puerto Rico. I took out one of my wishing machines, and I tuned it exactly like he had. I want to find something gold with diamonds, which has never happened to me in my life. I put it away and forgot about it, which is generally what you do. You usually use the machines for one wish at a time. I put my wish in there, put it away. Well, my sister came down here to visit me probably less than a week after that. She'd never been here before, so my wife and I were taking her around to some good snorkeling spots. And we went to this little island off the coast of Puerto Rico, beautiful place with just crystal clear aquamarine warm water. There were very few people around that day. It was a Monday. So I went out by myself into the water to a shallow section, and I sat there on the floor of the sea with the water up to my neck. And at one point, my wife came out and sat down next to me, and she's really big into seashells. So I started just feeling around in the sand to see if I could find a little seashell or something cool. And I plucked up out of the water a big, beautiful 14-karat gold men's ring with 9 diamonds in it.
Shut up.
I mean,
oh, really?
9 diamonds in this thing. And it fit me perfectly.
No.
Yeah, and I'm not the kind of guy who totes a lot of bling, but, I did wear that one. And as a matter of fact, when I did my wishing machine workshop in Sedona recently, I took this ring out and passed it around and showed it to everybody. If your listeners would like to see a picture of this ring, if you go to my Twitter feed and scroll down, I posted a picture of it. I tweeted a picture of it when I found it. And that wasn't too long ago. So that shows you the incredible specificity and enormous speed, with which the machine can work. And that's just, a simple little fun thing. I mean, I am now at the point in my life where I use them just to make every day a little more fun and interesting and exciting. I've used them to get whatever I need to have the life I want financially. I've used them to have the residences that I desire. I've used them to have all the things that really make me feel happy in life. And now I'm just using them for fun. And so that shows you the scope of usage. And hopefully, people will get the wishing machine, go to the website, take advantage of the content we have there that teaches you the best techniques to get effective results. There's hours and hours of video footage there freely available that I posted. We're also there to answer your questions in person. And by the way, I have a book that is coming out this summer, which you can now pre-order, which also I think is useful for people who are interested in manifestation. Of course, Jimmy, there is a new Star Wars movie coming out later this year. And so I have written a book called Use the Force, A Jedi's Guide to the Law of Attraction. It's available for pre-order right now on Amazon. And a lot of these techniques that people have used for law of attraction can be applied to wishing machines, and wishing machines just super boost all those intentions and make them come true in a much easier, more efficient way.
Can you? Will the wishing machine work if you're using it for bad reasons?
Yes, it certainly will. You can use it for anything you want. And I, from time to time, I talk to people who use it for bad reasons. I mean, I talked to a guy one time who said, I'm going to kill this man with this machine. And I said, well, I don't think that's a good idea, but he did it anyway, and the guy died. And I can tell you that is for a fact. So, yeah. So you can use it for whatever purpose you want, but in my opinion, whatever you send out is going to come back to you in some form. There are people, other radionics practitioners, who disagree with that. They think that this does not operate like quantum physics, and everything you send out doesn't have to come back to you. I think it does. So that's why I think if you kill somebody with this, well, eventually you're going to pay for it. So, don't do it. But yeah, as far as the effectiveness of the machine, the universe to a certain extent seems to be indifferent. And it's up to you to direct the principles of the universe. So in other words, gravity, for example, is something that just impartially exists. And gravity it can be good or bad for you. It's bad for you if you find out you've accidentally walked off a cliff. It's good, however, if you don't want to fly off into outer space as the Earth spins around. Either way, you can't blame gravity. It's just another force of nature. But once you understand how it works, then you can use it for your own purposes. And the principle by which the wishing machine works can be utilized the same way.
Renee one of our producers just sent me this email. She says, I understand your teams only investigate ghosts, but if one of your clients wants to get rid of one of those ghosts in their home, what, if anything, can you recommend to them? Also, if you differentiate between active autonomous ghosts, and those, or can you differentiate those that are simply recordings of past events?
Okay, well, for one thing, my team does not just investigate ghosts. Again, a lot of people presume that because we've done a lot of work in that arena. But we investigate UFOs, cryptids, psychic phenomena, interdimensional activity, I mean, all of it. When it comes to ghosts in particular, in my book, How to Hunt Ghosts, that was published by Simon & Schuster 12 years ago, I actually break down ghostly activity and categorize it into different types. And one of the things that I talk about is the difference between what we call entities, which seem to be ghosts that are aware, conscious, interactive, unpredictable, kind of like the traditional disembodied spirit, versus an imprint, which is almost like a recording of the past that is trapped within the medium of the environment. So these would be things that are redundant, that are predictable, like a holographic movie that replays itself over and over again under certain conditions. Though there are other types of ghostly phenomena, but those are the two primary types. Now, if you have this kind of activity taking place in your house, yes, there are things that you can do to stop it. Not 100% of the time, though. I mean, I have been faced with cases where we've done everything we could, and we could not stop the activity 100%. But the very first thing you can do, the easiest thing you can do, is try to change the atmospheric conditions, because whatever these ghosts are, they are always, first and foremost, things that are usually non-physical that become temporarily physical and interactive in the environment. And that's the point of interface that we want to prevent from transpiring. So what you do there is sometimes you can do something as simple as run a humidifier or a dehumidifier, and changing the amount of moisture in the air can be enough to stop the activity from materializing. Also, rearranging things that have electrical fields, appliances, electronics, that can make a big difference in either stirring up or subduing activity. There are things that sound almost like old superstitions but work for a reason, like sprinkling salt around your house. Well, salt is a crystal, and we know that crystals are able to manipulate the way that electrical fields are able to materialize. And so there are all these kind of techniques that can be used. And of course, if you have an entity, well, that entity might be attached to something, an object, or maybe the property, or in some cases, the situation the person lives in. All those things are addressed in the book, How to Hunt Ghosts. And I also tell people that if you are listening right now and you would like to know what you can do very easily to detect and deal with paranormal phenomena using household items that are at your disposal, at joshuapwarren.com, there's a little section there called the Curiosity Shop, and you can buy an ebook I wrote called The Poor Man's Paranormal. And the whole book is about taking household objects and using them to both investigate and otherwise document and deal with paranormal phenomena. So there are a lot of resources out there to deal with ghostly phenomena.
I want to address a couple of things, the obvious here that's flying by in Twitter. One of them is, how do you address the obvious when it comes to the wishing machine and somebody that's going to say, "Come on, man, this is snake oil stuff. This isn't real. This doesn't work." How do you address the skeptics?
Well, I think it's natural to think that this is a bunch of baloney. I mean, it sounds like the scam of the century. Yeah, I'm going to sell you a box that'll make your wishes come true. And I'm sure there are people out there who imagine we've taken a cigar box and, put some knobs on it and sell it for $200. But the reality is, this is a technology that has existed, at least in the form that we now know, for approximately 100 years. It probably goes back more than that. But there was a fella a medical doctor named Albert Abrams who began experimenting with this type of technology. And he got into a lot of trouble because he was applying it toward medicine. And, that's a big no-no, because the fact of the matter is we can't understand exactly how these things work. When you get a box, you have to experiment with it yourself and have your own personal experiences. And what I can tell you is that from a scientific perspective, there is, of course, the principle of, of course, we know that there is sympathetic resonance, that essentially whatever you send out there is going to activate a corresponding frequency that travels back to you. It's similar to if you take a tuning fork that's in the key of C and you strike it, and you have another tuning fork in the key of C nearby, it will start to resonate even if you don't strike it. And that's because they share this sympathetic resonance. Same thing if you bang a chord on a piano. A second piano nearby will also resonate at that chord without touching it. So when you send out your intentions, if you do them with a proper technique, then you are going to activate a corresponding energy that will travel back to you. We know all that. But what makes these machines so controversial is that we don't understand how consciousness can be recorded and enhanced and broadcast. So here's how I think of it. When Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, most of the people in the world could not comprehend how he could record a sound, because they said, come on, this is obviously bull. A sound is an intangible thing. He would do experiments for crowds, and the crowds would think that he had a ventriloquist, or this was some kind of magic trick, or there were little tubes. And that's because they just could not understand this very simple principle of taking sound and recording it in a physical medium. Well, I think these wishing machines operate the same way, except with consciousness. That the circuit inside these machines is able to take the conscious desire or the consciousness of the individual that's sort of put into it, and then retransmit that in an automated fashion. So you don't have to sit there and think about what you want all day long. You put it into the machine, and the machine continues transmitting it for you like a GPS device. So like if I'm going to take a trip from point A to point B, I can look at a map every 5 minutes to see where to go, or I can just plug the coordinates into the GPS and let it do the work for me, and hopefully it'll turn out the right way.
Right.
These boxes, I think, are kind of like GPS units for your consciousness, and when you use them over and over and you have these extraordinary successes, it's clear that, hey, even though it works, we may not know exactly how it works, but we're getting closer to understanding that every day.
Gabriel just tweeted, if the ring that you found was somebody's prized possession, then what did you have to give up for receiving the ring?
Well, I don't think those two events are connected. The person losing the ring, I don't think I didn't cause that person to lose the ring, in other words.
Right.
And I didn't specify that I wanted to go out to that spot and find a ring.
So 2 days later, you didn't lose your watch,
No.
or something like that. There wasn't some event that happened, something balancing the universe, so to speak.
Well, one of the good things about the wishing machine is it doesn't seem to work like leprechaun stories, where it's like you every time you wish for something good, you're going to stub your toe, something bad's going to happen to you. And that's because the universe is a gigantic place with so much going on around us, we can't even imagine all that's available and at our disposal.
Right.
And therefore, there's enough here for everybody to have their own wish come true without anybody having to suffer for it. If you have a very, very, very specific wish that is going to impact another person, which I always advise against, that may be different. But if your intentions are good, if all you put into the box is good intentions, then it is impossible for anything other than good things to happen.
I agree with that. The technique that you use, I'm making the statement for the audience, The technique that you use to dial in the box, and once you understand what you are trying to feel for and understand that part of it, it's pretty fascinating to go through the steps and go through the 9 knobs and dial it in. It's pretty fascinating because you start to you're practicing. It's like anything else, right? But it's so cool, Joshua, to watch somebody else use the machine and watch them go through the steps on it and to get it dialed in. I can't explain it. I really can't. I don't understand it. I know it's a passive box. It's not active. You don't plug it in. It's not about that. It's a passive box. But there's something that goes on electronically with the resistance between your body and the machine to dial in your thoughts and to get it there. It's fascinating. That part of it I'll stand by completely. Now, my own experience, okay, and I know Rita's going to go, okay, so what was it? And you know what happened? I will say this. 2 days later, after I did my wish, which was on New Year's Eve, on January 2nd, 2 days later, I got an email that said, yes. And I was like, what did that? Come on. I was like, come on. Really? And it was out of the blue. And that's my own experience. I can't, testify against anything else, or about anything else. I can only relate to what happened to me. And it blew my mind. And then, shall I tell them what you and I did the other day?
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay. So the other day, I wanted to book Joshua for the show, and I hadn't talked to Joshua in a while, and we usually talk a lot, and I hadn't. And at that moment, I looked down, and there was the wishing machine. So I went over, and I picked it up, and I looked at it, and I went, you know what? And I was holding it in my hand, and I put it down on my coffee table, and I called Joshua, and he picked up the phone. And he said, yes, not only am I available, but I have something very important that we need to talk about, and I need to get it out there, and let's do it. When can we do it? It was one of those things that you're in Puerto Rico, and it was just one of those things where I sit down, and it was like this weird synchronicity popped all at once. And Joshua, did that happen just like I just said it?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely did. And my schedule down here is insane. I mean, I'm about to fly from here to work on a project in Washington, D.C., and then from there, I'll be back in North Carolina. Then I'm flying to Michigan for a while, and in between, I'm doing a bunch of TV shoots. And I usually have to if you're going to schedule me for an interview, you're looking at a minimum of a month or something like that out. And but this, I don't know, it just came together perfectly. Yeah. And so there you go.
It was just weird, man. You popped in my head. I picked it up. Boom, blip, blap, blip, blam, blam. And it was just, everything had to happen at that moment. And it did. And it was just pretty strange, and I just put this thing down. So my comment back to you, which was later on that day, it was a good thing I picked up that wishing box. That was kind of strange, wasn't it? It's really true. Hey, we're up against a break. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue more with Joshua P. Warren. Joshua, we had some issues with some software that we installed earlier today for our phone system. So when we come back, I'm going to test it, and we're going to see if it's actually working. It might not, and we might not be able to take calls, which will be a complete drag because that is the biggest part of this show. But anyway, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Joshua P. Warren after we take this short break. Stay with us.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fader Knots. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight is Joshua P. Warren. Tomorrow night, Dean Haglund of the X-Files. You can shoot me an email to Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also tweet in at jchurchradio. Joshua, just check out this tweet. It's from Barrett. He says, I'm going to use my wishing machine for Joshua Tree that we don't vaporize in Jimmy's hotel room when we light up the plasma in the microwave.
This may be the first time when the wishing machine fails.
Oh, we're going to have a little mini CERN, a mini CERN particle accelerator happen. I can't wait. I got to see this for real. Now, I wanted to go back a couple of things really quick. With the wishing machine, if you were going to, everybody's the long lost love, the love that got away, the girl or the guy that didn't like you back. If you used it for something like that, and you did pull somebody into your life, and it did work, but what if that person really wasn't supposed to be there? Would there be a negative? You're forcing somebody into something. Would there be some negative aspects to doing it, using the machine in that way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always tell everybody that I don't think that you should ever directly include another individual in your wish, even if it's for what you think is a good purpose. So it's, people contact me and they say, my mother is sick. Is it okay if I wish for my mother to get better? And I say, no, I really wouldn't recommend that. And it's just because that when you're dealing with another person's life, there are variables that are out of your control and your knowledge, and it can be hard to grasp that and understand it. But I think as a general rule, you're just better off to avoid that. Now, there are people who do it, and when they do it, they have some success with it. But I would tell a person who's looking for, say, the perfect partner, well, wish for the perfect partner. And don't wish for a particular individual. Wish for the perfect partner. That is also not only going to ensure that you'll have better chances for happiness, but it also works better. So that is to say, if I decide that I want to wish for, a Cadillac, there is going to be a much, much better return on that if I wish for a Cadillac rather than wishing for the specific Cadillac that Elvis Presley drove in 1967 or something like that. Because you narrow it down so much, that you're creating more and more of a challenge. So you want to be specific, but not too specific.
Hi, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Joshua Warren. Who's calling? I think we dropped the call. All right. So Joshua, what about? My bad. That's my bad. Did I just do that? Sorry about that, Joshua. How loud was that in your ear? I don't think that went out over the air.
No, it was fine.
For me, I used it for a little life event thing, and the odds of certainly that somebody responding, it could have been a coincidence. It was going to happen anyway. But for me, it was so far out there that when it happened, a couple of days later, and I got this, this email that said, yes, I didn't strike that up to coincidence. I did scratch my head, though, and just went, holy crap. Did this happen because of the wishing machine? Or was this, do I strike this up to coincidence? And then I had to take it to the next step. Would it have happened if I didn't use the wishing machine? Follow it? Are you following me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for everybody to understand that is how the wishing machine works. The wishing machine works through coincidences and synchronicities. So that is to say, if I would like, $1 million and I wish for that, that does not mean a bag full of $1 million is going to materialize and drop out of the sky at my feet. No, on the contrary, what you're really asking for is for elements throughout the universe to rearrange themselves to create conditions favorable to that $1 million making its way toward you. And so when you're dealing with life-changing events, they always happen through synchronicity and quote-unquote coincidences. And that's because there are all of these variables surrounding every individual's life. And so every single time you make a wish and you get what you want, there's no way that you can say under a microscope, I see directly how the box made this happen. But if you make the wish and it comes true, you can see that the result is the same. And yet we are unable to sort of take something as complex as the conditions that have to sort of congeal for these changes to occur and condense them down into one simple thing. And that's why the wishing machine is so mysterious. But if you get what you want, you get what you want.
It's it worked for me. That's all I got to say. It just I can't explain it. I can't. But I did follow the instructions. And I practiced it for a while. And it worked. Now, before I let you get out of here, tell the audience the history behind the psychomantium, and what is behind it, and then you just got to leave me with one good creepy story so I can have bad dreams.
Well, the psychomantium, as we know it today, is thanks to the work of Dr. Raymond Moody. Dr. Moody wrote a best-selling book in the 1970s called Life After Life, all about near-death experiences. He actually coined the phrase near-death experience and some other terms that we now consider part of the traditional pop culture lexicon, like the tunnel of light, that sort of thing. And the book was such a big hit that afterward the publishers sort of gave him carte blanche to write about whatever he wanted for his next book. And Dr. Moody has degrees in Greek philosophy and Greek literature. And so he took this opportunity to go to ruins in Greece and study what they called thousands of years ago a necromantion. Essentially, these were places. There was one in particular around I think it was Ephra in Greece, where they would have these mainly underground facilities. And if you wanted to contact somebody who is deceased, you would go way out into the country, away from the cities, to one of these facilities. You would have to be interviewed by a priest who would determine pretty much the state of your mind and if you were sane enough to go through this experience. And if you were accepted, then they would put you into an environment for a few days up to a week where you would sit in a room by yourself, surrounded by artifacts that belonged to the deceased person. And you would really just sort of meditate on that person. And finally, when the priest sensed that you were ready, then you would be directed to travel by yourself down a long hallway lit only by the occasional torch into a rather impressive chamber with a highly polished metal cauldron in the middle filled with water. So it formed a nice reflective surface, a mirror-like surface. At that point, the individual would stare into the water, and then they would not only see the image of the deceased loved one, but then the most incredible thing would happen. That person would literally rise three-dimensionally from the cauldron and then step forward, and they would have a full-on interactive experience, just as if that person were alive again. So Dr. Moody wondered just how literal these experiences were. And so he started doing a bunch of experiments at the university where he taught in the 1980s, taking some of the basic elements of the psychomantium and trying to modernize them. And eventually he came up with a very simple setting that mimicked many of the conditions for the psychomantium. Essentially, he would take a room, didn't have to be a big room, but a dark room with a nice, big, comfortable chair in the middle, facing a mirror. And the mirror, it didn't have to be necessarily large, but it ideally would be positioned on the wall, maybe about 6 feet away from the chair, at a level so that it was just above eye level, so that if you would sit in the chair, you would not directly see your own reflection.
Right.
And then behind the chair, you would put a dim light. Candlelight would be perfect, but that could be a bit dangerous, so you'd want to put a similar kind of dim light. Then, and this is in many ways the most important part, he would take a candidate who wanted to contact a deceased loved one, and he would go through a period of sessions for maybe days leading up to the psychomantium session, where they would have lengthy conversations about the person that they wanted to contact, reimagining that person in great detail. What's your most vivid memory of this person? What's your best memory? What's your worst memory? What does it smell like when you're in their house? All these things until finally that person cannot imagine the individual any more clearly. And then at that point, the candidate or the subject is brought into the psychomantium room to sit in the chair, stare at the mirror, and more often than not, the same thing would happen. The person would see this deceased person in the mirror, and then the person would step forth from the mirror and come walking out and have, again, full three-dimensional experience. Well, so I became really interested in this years ago for the obvious reasons, and I created a weekend workshop in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I brought Dr. Moody in. I brought in a group of people. We had about 30 people who all participated in this, and it was kind of like a who's who of people in paranormal research at that time. I mean, we had people like Rosemary Ellen Guiley and Ray Buckland and Mark Nesbitt. I mean, some really influential writers.
Right.
And so we did these sessions all week long and really learned the techniques. So after that, we started doing a lot of experiments at my laboratory. And in fact, I even took the guest bedroom at my house and turned the whole thing into a big psychomantium, which my wife did not care for so much, by the way. Especially when we started getting scratching sounds and that kind of stuff. But
exactly.
Yeah. And so, but I began to wonder over time, like, how much of the psychomantium experience is just suggestion, When you go through these sessions and you tell people you're going to go in there and, see a ghost, essentially, how much of that is responsible for the experience versus just putting somebody in that setting? So one night I had a friend over, and he had a lady friend. She was young. She was in her early 20s. I'd never met her before. Her nickname was Tigger. And he brought her over, and we were hanging out. It was late at night. And at one point, he says to me, "Hey, tell Tigger about the psychomantium." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, the psychomantium is," and then I stopped myself. And I said, let me not tell you anything about the psychomantium. I would like for you to participate in a little experiment. And she says, okay. And I said, follow me. So we go to this room. She already knew I wrote about ghosts and stuff, so I'm sure she thought I was, just doing some more of my usual weirdo stuff. So I opened the door to the room, and I said, have a seat in this chair. Just look at that mirror, and I'll come back and get you in about maybe 15 minutes or so. She goes, okay.
You just ain't right.
Yeah, a lot of people would have been like, I will see you later, Mr. Warren.
Exactly. Okay, what happened next?
So I left her in there for about 20 minutes. And then I came back, and I cracked open the door. And I said, hey, are you okay? And she's inside just sobbing. Absolutely sobbing like a baby. And obviously there was instantly all this tension in the room because I really didn't know her that well. And now here she is in this just like shattered emotional state. And so I walked in and sat down next to her. I said, are you okay? And she looks up at me with these, big watery eyes, and she goes, how did you do that? And I said, I'm kind of getting goosebumps right now as I remember this happening to me. I said, what happened to you? And she goes, how did you do that? And I said, honestly, I really am not sure what you're talking about. Tell me what happened to you. She told me, now, of course, again, I didn't know anything about her background. She told me that when she was young, her parents had died in an accident, and her grandmother raised her. And her grandmother was her only, real parental figure. And that when she was something like 19 years old, she had gone on a vacation with her friends. And while she was gone, her grandmother had died. And this was just, the last straw for her, that she didn't have an opportunity to fully tell her grandmother how much she loved her and how she felt about her. So here she is sitting in this chair without any expectations or knowledge of what's supposed to happen. Right. And all of a sudden, her grandmother appears. And then the grandmother steps out from the mirror, standing there full-bodied in the room, walks over to her, puts her arms around her, whispers in her ear, you know how much I love you, and then turns around and walks into the mirror and fades away again. This was a life-altering moment, obviously, for this young woman. It was the end of the night. They left after that. And I thought to myself, as touching as that may be, that is an incredible experiment to show that a person who knew nothing about the psychomantium, who had no psychological preparation, who had no suggestions implanted, went into a room for 15 minutes and had such a profound experience. Now, that may not be one of the creepiest stories in the world, but I think that it is a very powerful story, and it shows you the significance of this technique when done properly.
Was Tigger willing to take things to another level and check it out again, or was she done?
She was done. Yeah, that was it. It was, when people have experiences like that, it puts them into a place that is so foreign to their daily experience that the idea of going back into it can seem unsettling. I think it gave her peace of mind, but I wouldn't say that it was the most positive experience.
Let's go to the phones real quick. Tammy's been on hold. Tammy wanted to ask you about the ring that you found in Puerto Rico. Tammy, say hi to Joshua.
Hey, Joshua. My question is, after you found the ring, what did you do with it?
Oh, great question.
Well, that's not the whole question.
Okay,
yeah,
then stay right there, Tammy.
All right. Well, hi, Tammy. I'm glad that you made it on the show, and I can hear you just fine. Well, when I found the ring, immediately, because it fit my ring finger on my right hand, I put it on. And I wore it for a couple of days to see if it was going to somehow, magically allow other things to sort of, manifest. And that didn't really happen. So I said I took it off, and I currently have it right now it's in a Ziploc bag in a drawer. And people have asked me, are you going to sell it? And I could sell it for a lot of money, but I don't really need that kind of money, and it's so much cooler to have the ring. So I'm not really doing anything with it, but it's nice to know I'll be able to show it to people.
So you didn't turn it into the police as a found ring or check the papers to see if somebody might have lost it?
Oh, are you kidding me? Out here in Puerto Rico, I was on a little island off the coast of Puerto Rico, and this ring, it could have been there for 50 years. There were no markings on the ring. And
I found one like that, too.
Yeah.
Seriously, in Alaska, it was in the Kenai River. And I gave it to my dad, not thinking, but we found it in the paper. But, yeah, I totally understand. So other things like that, have they ever happened to you? Because I've had things similar to your wishing box happen to me. Like, my dog died, and I thought, God, I wish I could have another poodle like this. And, 3 days later, it showed up on my porch, and I never told anybody that was my wish. And it just showed up.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I really think that everybody has the potential to manifest wishes. And the wishing machine is just a mind-powered device. So, it's kind of like they say about...
So what I'm asking is, okay, let's say you have an honest, open mind. Your mind is open to everything. You've got one foot on the dirt. You're drinking a glass of water. The sun's in your face. So you've got the earth, you've got the wind, you've got the fire. And you're just completely clear of all thought. And you go, I wouldn't mind having this. And then it shows up in 3 days. Isn't it, without the box, isn't it more of an open... like the Chinese believe, if you put an envelope and you wish upon that envelope, or you have a straight way through your house, money will show up if you put a red envelope under your front porch. But they're saying also goes to say that you have to be clear of mind, clear of heart, clear of all evil, and just make it a honest, open thought. And things happen. Is that kind of like what your wishing box does?
Well, I feel like that all cultures for thousands of years have had their own ways of manifesting things. And I'm a big fan of collecting that information. I collect wands, for example, from all around the world. And using a wand is also very similar. Yes, it begins with having the right kind of mindset. You're absolutely right. And what I find is that a lot of people who live in this day and age, they have grown up with boxes that have switches and knobs, and they mentally associate turning a knob to making something happen, making something work. We can't help that. That's just the way we were raised. And so it seems like that these boxes, at very least, are able to tap into the ability of a person to manifest, because it gives them something physical there to start working with. And I've always wondered if you...
their concentration opens up while looking at the box. I got it.
Thank you for the call, Tammy.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Have a great night. Well, Joshua, she brings up a great point. We all have had that fabulous experience of thinking about somebody, then the friggin' phone rings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody that you haven't talked to in years, you know, maybe weeks, but you have that thought, somebody's, you know, name or face pops into your mind, and the phone call happens. We all have those, don't we?
Yes, but some people have it more than others. And what I found since I've been working with wishing machine stuff is that there are people out there who contact me and they say, look, I've never had anything special happen in my life. You know, they're like, I've never seen a ghost. I've never won any money at a casino. I mean, they just go down the list of like, this is not me, not me, not me. And I say, well, you, therefore, would be perfect for this because this, again, is some kind of a device for people to utilize, you know, physically utilize, who don't necessarily feel so connected to just that open spiritual awareness naturally, right? Mm-hmm. And so it seems like because this box can work so well for even people who are not connected, I really honestly believe that there is something about the technology of this box. I could easily say that the box is a placebo, and that everybody has the ability to simply do this with their minds, and that the box, you could substitute that box for a magic bag of beans or whatever, and it would be the same. But honestly, I can tell you from our experiments, the results have shown that there actually is something, in my opinion, about the circuit inside this box that does actually make it work better regardless of the person's own personal connection to the spiritual realm. It is therefore a technology, and if you ask Dr. Mulder what's inside the box, he will tell you that there are a lot of interesting things inside the box that he has discovered through trial and error to work. But one of the things he will say is that for one thing, he knows how to select the right types of crystals. And there's one little clue, one little hint there about what is placed very strategically inside these circuits.
Yeah, the box is sealed, and I've been so tempted, but I will not open it. But yeah, I'm holding it in my hand. It's sealed. I've often wondered what's on the inside. So, hey, Joshua, my brother, thank you so much for coming on and hanging late tonight. And I know it's so late out there in Puerto Rico, but can't wait to get you back on. And everybody, JoshuaPWarren.com. That's the website, and the Wishing Machine Festival out there in Asheville, North Carolina. The information for that, too, is at JoshuaPWarren.com. You can also go to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Just click on Joshua's name. And do go to his gallery at Joshua P. Warren and check out the videos and check out the photographs. Again, it is true internet gold. Thank you so much, Joshua.
Hey, it's always a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on, Jimmy.
You're the best. Thank you. Joshua P. Warren, everybody. Joshua, you have a great, safe rest of your week.
Okay, you do the same.
Thank you so much. Joshua P. Warren, JoshuaPWarren.com. And you know what? I did it. I knew I was going to do it, and I did it. I didn't get to Mark Wyatt's email. I promise I will do it first thing on tomorrow's show. I will not deny everybody the email. I wanted to leave you with this. Are you ready? Check this out. Let me back up here. A team of international cybercrime fighters claimed one of the first kills last Thursday, pulling the plug, check this out, on 12,000 hijacked computers around the United States, most of them in the United States. In other words, malicious software that was installed on your computer that hijacks everything and looks at keystrokes and everything else. Yes, 12,000 computers. It was called the B-Boned Botnet, B-E-E-B-O-N-E, the B-Bone Botnet. That's right. It's an early success chalked up to the Joint Cybercrime Action Task Force, coordination body created last year by the FBI, Britain's National Crime Agency, Europol, and a host of other international law enforcement agencies. B-Bone acted as a downloader, which installed other forms of malicious software on victims' computers without their consent or knowledge. An FBI cyber agent told CBS News last week that this type of cybercrime opens up the door to malware that can steal all of your information and credentials and log into your bank account, amongst other things, and other crimes. 12,000 computers were disconnected. 12,000 were disconnected from B-Bone last week. And that concludes our Tuesday edition of Fade to Black. Thank you so much, Joshua P. Warren. Always great having you on the show. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar. So talk to Mark all day today, man. He's doing great. Thanks to LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Bateau, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Method of Signaling. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro by Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Dean Haglund of The X-Files. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to be safe. See ya.